From Cali to Tally, it's time to wake up. WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source, and this is Wake Up War Chant. Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hudjavandi and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? Let's do the show. We're here in the Midtown offices. Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. If you're a student at the prestigious Florida State University, just email support@warchant.com from your FSU email account.
Your FSU.edu account.
Yeah. It used to be, I don't know what it was in your day. Did you guys have email in your day? In
No,
my day,
you had to send postcards.
the domain was something crazy. It was like, mine was AAH2864 or something like that.
Wow.
I don't even have a middle initial, but they had to give me a fake initial. But it was at garnet.acns.fsu.edu.
Oh, all
that
right.
was the domain.
Okay.
And then I think 3 years or so after I left, I was like, yeah, let's do it at fsu.edu. But yeah, email us from that one. Your student email address is send an email to support@warchant.com. You'll get a promo code for a year's worth of warchant.com for only $12. So, I mean, do the math.
Can't beat
kids.
it.
I mean,
technically, I guess it could be $11, but come on.
well,
let's get
that's
real.
not the promo. There's
yeah,
nothing
$12
else
is as good as any promo, any deal you'll ever get for any website ever.
And is that like, are we doing this for like an indefinite amount of time?
I think, yeah, it's indefinite for now. So we're looking out for the next generation of Florida State fans, man. We got to look out for them. And make sure they get to be a part of this too, and it's just going to grow the website.
Right.
These people, the people now, they're emailing us from their FSU.edu accounts.
The cheering.
In 20 years, they're going to be the doctors of the world. They're going to be the lawyers of the world. They're going to be CEOs, and they're going to remember what War Chant did for them when they had no money.
All right.
And just think what they're going to do for us. Man, they'll pay it back tenfold.
Maybe we'll have an endowed scholarship just from War Chant from these folks.
Well, no, I don't want to give the
years from
money
now.
to anyone else. I mean, we need to keep it. We're not
Okay,
giving
right,
it away.
right.
What are we doing?
We need to hold on to the profits
Yeah.
somehow. Well, we haven't talked in a few days, but I don't think really that anything of really major consequences happened.
We talked to Florida State baseball players.
We did. They're excited. Somebody asked a question on Renegade Express. We'll get to it here. That's what today's show is going to be, is you guys asking us questions. Maybe I'll go ahead and start that out right now. We'll go right to it.
We're going right to it. Okay, all right.
Leon Knoll, 12. Aslan, why did you want to keep making Drew Parrish relive last year's game against Mississippi State?
It's a fair. Who asked that?
Leon Knoll, 12.
That's a fair question.
Yeah, that's
because we're in May now. It's been a full year.
This is it, though. I mean, now you're really facing your demons if you think it's a demon. Like, I haven't.
I can't imagine he thinks it's a demon. But it wasn't like.
I did ask him twice the last time we spoke, so it was a little bit weird.
And you probably asked him at the beginning of the year.
I did. I was the guy who did. Yeah.
But what? Like, it's not like.
Well, first of all, it's early morning, and I'm almost stalling just so because part of me feels weird when our interviews are only 3 minutes long. Like, I have an internal clock.
Sure.
And when it's just 2 seconds of silence after a guy's done answering a question, it's like the inevitable, all right, we're done, next guy. And I'm like, no, we're not done. We shouldn't be done. It's Drew Parrish. He's starting in the last regional of Mike Martin's. I'm is this the last chapter to get over your, mental scar from Mississippi State? And then I had the stupid follow-up.
I'm sure he felt bad, obviously, about that, watching the season end when a guy hits a home run. Was it over the scoreboard or off the score? I mean, he crushed it. What I like to call a no-doubter when it left the bat.
Right.
But my man, we all agree, should not have been on the mound, number one.
No, I liked it. I want him back out there.
And,
he had 2 outs. He was 1 strike away. People act like it was the
No, you can't shut it down it was a 3-hour delay.
Why can't you? Because no one's ever done it before?
No, you're not supposed to. It's hard to get
Columbus
your arm back.
thought he was going to India. He wound up here. It worked out well for all of us.
Apparently he's not, Drew Parrish wasn't on the Santa Maria. Ooh, a little 1492
Come
humor.
back at you.
1492 humor. But yeah, you can't for 3 hours. It's hard to get loose again when you've already thrown 100 and something pitches.
But Corey, he got 2 outs after the delay, right? When the delay came back, it was like the top of the ninth. Like, he got 2 outs.
Sure. And granted, they didn't have a ton of great options in the bullpen.
Correct.
But I would say, you know what, C.J. Van Eyck, get yourself ready.
Okay.
Get yourself ready. You're gonna pitch. I know we're gonna pitch you tomorrow too. We need 3 outs out of you right now, so get yourself mentally ready to go out there and pitch. I just don't think you can put a kid out there after he's sat for that long, after having thrown that many pitches. But either way, he wasn't like a goat It wasn't like Mark Wohlers giving up the home run to Leyritz or the
Mitch Williams to
Joe Carter, the Byung Hung Kim to the Yankees in back-to-back games.
Pedro to Aaron Bleepin Boone.
That wasn't Pedro.
It wasn't Pedro?
No, that was.
I thought it was Pedro. Grady left him in.
No, then they lost. They came back and tied that game, I think. And then they lost it in extra innings off Wakefield.
I'll look it up. You go ahead.
Well, I mean, you can look it up. It wasn't Pedro, I promise.
Well, I'm going to look it up so we can know who the right person is.
No, it was. I'm almost positive it was Wakefield. I just don't remember if that was Game 6 or Game 7 that they left Pedro in too long. But, yeah, so he wasn't really the GOAT. He was awesome. He was the only reason they had a lead going into that last inning anyway, so I hope he doesn't feel too bad about that, giving up that walk-off home run and is in the final game of the 2018 season.
Wakefield got the loss in that. It was Game 7. They went to extra innings. They lost. They scored 3 in the bottom of the 8th.
They did. The Yankees did to tie it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the Pedro game. But yeah, Pedro wasn't in there because I remember it went to extra innings. That's when we never thought the Red Sox would win anything ever. Weren't those the days?
Off David Wells? Oh no, the Red Sox leading 5-2 after Ortiz hit off David Wells. Grady Little left the tiring Martinez in for the 8th, a controversial move which is still discussed years later.
And he was fired after that series, I think.
So he's the one who threw it. It was Pedro.
You just said Wakefield got the loss. What inning did it? He left him in the 8th. He finally took him out in the 8th inning after it was too late. But the game wasn't won until like the 11th or the 12th.
Correct. Yeah. But isn't that the Pedro game? I can't say he left Pedro in.
But he didn't hit the home run off Pedro.
Oh, he didn't?
Boone hit the home run off Wakefield to win the game in the 12th.
Oh, so what happened to the 3 runs? Oh, that was
the 3 runs. They just tied the game on a bunch of hits.
All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not Wake Up Red Sox. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody put any blame at Drew Drew Parrish's feet.
But so yeah, I can understand that question. He handles it well.
He did. He was a little perturbed, but it's fine. I like Drew. Drew's got a little
moxie, a little bulldog in him.
There we go. Yeah.
Got a little bulldog in him for sure.
A little red button in him, as Cameron likes to say.
Yeah. So you need those guys. There's a lot of those guys on a baseball
Van
team.
Eyck's got a lot of swagger too. I like him. Again,
you want your pitchers like that, man. You don't want pitchers that are like, oh, man, I hope I get this guy out. You want the guys up on the mound saying there's no way this dude's getting a hit off me. And now that's not always the case, but they certainly have that attitude.
Right. And I should probably walk back my assertion that Florida State still probably has the best 1-2 punch in the region because after
starting pitching,
yes, because apparently there's a guy named Emerson Hancock who started 13 games for them. He's 8-2 with a 1.56 ERA, 0.78 WHIP. Your dogs,
right?
Tony Losi, 15 appearances, 14 starts, 10-2, 2.68 ERA, and then Tim Elliott, 14 games, 13 starts, 2.7 ERA. He's 6-3. So they got a whole bunch of guys that are good. But Van Eyck is about as hot as you can think. I mean, I think Van Eyck.
Yeah, he's been really good.
The Miami game might be the only one that wasn't a win that he has started here in the last 2 months or whatever. So they'll be practicing in Athens on Thursday as you're listening to this, probably. And then Friday at noon, they'll take on FAU in Game 1 of the Athens Regional. Corey will be up there covering for it. So check out warchant.com, stay connected, all that sort of stuff. You'll be giving us the blow-by-blow. But I'll be watching it here at home. I'll probably be doing the thread, too, or helping out in some – well, I'm going to watch it, man. I'm all in, man. One last ride.
It's going to be really crazy. Just again, we haven't been in – I don't ever go to the noon games in a regional. Never have to. Yeah. Really, never had to. I've never had to watch them play in a 2-3 game since I've been covering this team for 11 years. So it's all new. It's all weird. They go in as an underdog with literally no expectations. Now you'd like them to be better. Like you would have loved a team in the 90s to have this kind of a weight off their shoulders. I always thought they pressed a little bit because they were always expected not only to get to Omaha, but to go get that first ring. Yeah. And I do think that weighs on you a little bit. Not much. Baseball is its own pressure-packed sport anyway, but it's a little just extra added pressure. And this team has none of that. Like, they got him to the tournament. I know his career is over as soon as you lose 2 games, but nobody's expecting you to make a run. So just have fun and see where it goes.
But isn't everybody hoping that you will? So that pressure still has to exist?
You can hope, but it's hope. It's not an expectation. Yeah. I think that's, I think we have enough evidence of this team. It's been 57 games now or whatever it's been. They're not a very good team. They're not a terrible team. They're in the tournament. They made it. They did what they had to do. But they're not a team that you would be like, wow, man, they really blew it this year. This is a team that should be in Omaha.
Is there a singular thing that you think is holding them? I mean, there's not. But if there was, what is like the one single thing that most concerns you? For me, it's just the fact that they have no bullpen for all intents and purposes. I know the offense has been up and down. they're 1-2. The front line guys they have, Parrish and Van Eyck, are liable to go 8 innings, 7 innings, and punch out a whole bunch of guys. But just if they do lose one game in this regional, it's just, then they got to start going to the bullpen and piecing guys in. And that's what concerns me the most. It wouldn't be if they make it to a super regional. It's like their odds of winning a regional are probably less than winning a super regional, if that makes any sort of sense. But then if you get to Omaha and if you don't go through the winners bracket, and I don't know, I mean, if it's going to happen for Mike Martin, is it going to happen clean and easy? Like, is he going to? They'll probably lose maybe against FAU, but somehow, if the movie ending happens, they'll fight their way and still win the regional and somehow win a super. And then when they get to Omaha, they probably lose game one. But that's my concern, is that they have no margin for error when it comes to their starting pitching, because I just don't. Yeah, unless the bats just get crazy, but that's just too.
Yeah, we'll ask them. I mean, hopefully they're not 0-2 in Athens, but I don't even know who their Game 3 starter would be. Right. I guess Grady, but he's not been good. Right. And they have 2 guys they can count on, and only 2 guys they can count on. That's why a super regional, at least you got your 2 best guys pitching. You can win those 2 games. Now, even if you win Friday and then you upset Georgia on Saturday, which could happen with Van Eyck, man, you still got to win another game. And you got to beat a team that's going to have a better pitcher than you out there. So how do you do that? That's the real question. They don't pick up the ball real well, but they can be a team that can score some runs. It's a weird team, man. Yeah. They score 1 run against Louisville and like 0 runs against Louisville, and then the one in the middle they score 14. Yeah. They score 4 runs against Wake, and then they score 11 against NC State. Like when they get on top of you, they're a really good front-running team, it seems like. But when they get behind, it can kind of, go south.
Well, in every sport, right? Starting fast, starting strong is important. I think it's even more so
especially with a young team too, yeah, for sure.
All right. By the way, folks, you will listen to the show every single day, but starting next week, we should have some pretty cool, exciting news to share with you guys and gals. Makes the listening experience a little bit more enjoyable. Gives you a little bit more incentive maybe to listen to the show. That's all we'll say for now. But yeah, we're moving on up in the world apparently. Yeah. All right, the first question came from Enol_2000, but there's a spoiler involving Thrones, so he said to feel free to put this at the end in order to not spoil anything for the listeners. And it's a typical Enol question. It's a really good mic dropper.
Why don't we do that last?
No doubter, exactly. We'll let it go on that one. So let's start off with Maxwell Gibbs. Aslan. He's got like 4, 5, 6 A's, couple S's. He really spelled my name out big time, Corey, and then he just put you.
Wow, and that's his whole question?
Corey.
That's a lot.
Maxwell's usually pretty verbose.
Wow.
Wake up, brothers. Although Mike Martin's last season did not go like anyone had hoped it would, at least somehow this team found a way to get into the tournament. At the end of the day, what will Mike Martin's legacy be, though? Will he be known as the only coach in NCAA history to have won over 2,000 games in any sport and made the postseason for 40 straight seasons? Or will it go down as he could never win the title out in Omaha?
How
about this?
I know it's a cop-out, but it's both. I mean, that is the asterisk that's always there. Yeah. It's just there. I mean, is it fair? Well, yeah, kind of. You never won one. You had 40 chances. Some of those teams weren't great. Some of them were great. But it always ended short of the ultimate goal. So I think that is a part of it. I think when you think about, I'm trying to think of a coach, like who's a good basketball coach that never won one. Like I think Lenny Wilkins for a long time had the most.
He won one though.
I thought he won one as a player. Was he a coach there? Maybe it was a player coach. Definitely wasn't the Seahawks.
Sonics. Sorry.
But like Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens is an awesome coach. Some people think he's like one of the best coaches in the world. And so far in his career, he's never won a championship. Does that mean he's not as good a coach as, I don't know, Spolstra? What's his name? Spolstra?
Tyronn Lue.
Or Tyronn Lue? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you can't judge a legacy solely on championships. But when you're at a place for 40 years that's always in the running and you never won one, yeah, man, that's a hole that's in the resume.
Don Nelson?
He never won one either.
Yeah. Lenny Wilkins won one in 1979 as a coach with the Seattle Supersonics.
He was a coach? I thought he'd still been playing then. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, I think it's part of the deal with Mike Martin. I think by and large he'll be remembered as a very good coach, but there will be that asterisk there that is you play games to win trophies and to win championships. He won a lot of different kinds of trophies. and is in every kind of Hall of Fame you can imagine. But he never won, unless this team goes on a crazy, unbelievable run. He's going to finish his career never winning a national championship. And I think that bothers a lot of diehard Florida State fans, obviously. Well, I guarantee it bothers him more. Yeah. Like, that's something that I don't think that that's like something that would – I don't know. I think that's something that he knows is missing. I don't think it makes his life any worse on the day-to-day. But it's just a kind of – I'm sure there's some regret in there that one of those 40 years they couldn't find it.
Bill Buckner passed away this week.
Yeah, he did.
And ESPN was playing the Catching Hell documentary. Next time you do that, tell me. I'll just turn your audio down.
Oh, okay. Well, I tried to hold the mic. Did it not work?
Well, when you touch – the mics are so great. They're really great. They're too sensitive, though.
Sorry, everyone, for that.
That's fine.
It's like they're in the room with us.
Yeah. But they were playing the Chasing Hell documentary, which was actually about Moise Alou and Steve Bartman with the Cubs. Catching Hell, sorry, not Raising Hell. And it's crazy because like the first 35 minutes of that documentary is talking about Buckner and what happened with him in the Red Sox in '86 against the Mets. And part of me was thinking like that's what that was his life, and he lived with that. He had to he had to bear that cross his whole entire life. And obviously it hasn't been that severe for Mike Martin because college baseball is not as big of a deal.
Right.
But I just wonder if he's had so many games or chances out there where maybe he had the best team. Maybe he didn't have the best team, but he had his shots there. But did he not have? There hasn't been a lot of. There's been heartbreak, but there hasn't been crazy moments, right? The Stephen Wells moment, I think, is obviously a little bit weird. That moment against LSU in that game, Arizona, Justin Gonzalez couldn't pick up the ball. That was a bit of a bummer. But
Busters last year, the first game against Stanford, I think they had a lead going in the ninth inning, and then Delmonico made at least one error, and then they had given up 11 runs, something like that.
Well, was it Mike McGee? I always get Mike McGee and Stephen McGee confused.
Mike McGee is the one that gave up the bomb to TCU. Yeah.
But I mean, these weren't like crazy sort of like curse kind of moments. So I don't know if that
Who was the team? Was it last year in the College World Series with the
Arkansas with the foul ball?
Yeah. That's the series they've won it.
Yes, I mean quite literally.
Did he let it drop or did it hit off his glove? I can't remember. I think he ran over there and then didn't catch it. I can't remember what it was, but that cost them the championship. That's a Bill Buckner play. There's nothing that Mike Martin ever did, a decision he made, that Florida State fans can look back and say, well, God, that was his Buckner moment. It's just some of it's bad luck. Some of it he went with the gut, was wrong. That happens with everyone. Again, I bring this up all the time. The University of Texas has won like 4 or 5 of them.
Right.
Well, they went out there and lost 35 of them. So, all right, we're watching the play now. The second baseman runs over.
I got it.
Oh, yeah. And
three guys converge on a foul ball in the top of the ninth of a closeout game.
2 outs.
2 outs.
2 outs. They're up by a run, tying run at third base. And it's a pop-up in foul territory it's in the air probably for 15 seconds. Yeah. They all run towards it. The second baseman calls it.
We said it on the show. If that happened to Florida State, that would have been, that's just Mike Martin's career in a nutshell.
The kid just overran it, and then they end up tying the game and then winning the game, and then I guess won the game the next night. I think that might have been game 2.
That was a closeout game.
So, that kid will have to live with that, but not nearly on the stage, obviously, as Buckner. And, the thing about the Buckner thing that always got lost, was the game was already tied. The Mets had already scored 2. They had 2 outs, nobody on base, down by 2 runs. And the Mets got 4 straight hits to tie the game. Well, 3 straight hits to tie the game and then a wild pitch.
Right.
So the Schiraldi and Stanley were the GOATs. The game had already been tied. I don't think many Red Sox fans were confident that if he fields that ground ball and beats Mookie Wilson to first base, which isn't a guarantee, that the Red Sox were going to end up winning that game in the next inning or the next inning. I think they thought they'd already blown their shot. And I say that as a Braves fan because Brooks Conrad did the same thing about 7 or 8 years ago in a playoff series against the Giants, where they'd already blown the lead, and then Brooks Conrad gave them the lead the next inning by having a ball go right through his legs.
Short answer now to the long answer that we gave. I believe, like, if I ever have a son, and at one point he's going to look at Wikipedia and come to me and be like, hey, Dad, like, Florida State had a guy that won 2,000 games, but he never won it all. I mean, I think that's be like how do you explain that to
right.
the I think ultimately that it's the blessing and the curse. The fact that he's won so many games is what's remarkable. But then when you put into the context of, but he somehow never was able to win the ultimate championship game. I mean, I think that's unfortunate.
He got to the final game twice.
Yeah.
Lost 1 to Arizona in really bad fashion in '86. and then I think the Miami one was 99.
Yep.
Which, again, the thing about the one against Miami was it's a double elimination tournament. This was before they went to the best 2 out of 3.
Right.
So Florida State had already lost the game. Miami was undefeated. Yeah. So it really kind of wouldn't have been fair if Florida State beat Miami and then they're the champs.
It'd be like FSU's sand volleyball against UCLA.
Right, you know what I mean? Like it's like Miami only lost. That still would only been Miami's first loss in Omaha, but Florida State would have been declared the champs. And I think there was a play in that game where there was a pitch that was a borderline strike that was called a ball, and then the next pitch was ripped down the line for a 2 or 3 run double. And I remember McDougal flying out to the track. They could have tied the game. There's all that stuff that happened. And yeah, I mean,
16 times.
He's
been in Omaha 16 times.
And it's like, I don't know. Like I guess, yeah. I mean, again, that's an asterisk. It doesn't nullify an incredible career.
It does, though. I think it's what it does.
I don't think it nullifies it. I think it lessens it.
No.
You know what I mean? It doesn't completely nullify it and say, "Oh, these 40 years were a waste." They've been great moments in Florida State baseball.
The bud is just so strong.
Yeah, it's a big bud. Yeah,
like,
for sure. It'd be like Bowden not having the 2 that he had, but still having the dynasty run. I mean, you know, that would be a big hole, and it's not something that Mike Martin. I don't know that he obsesses over it anymore, but I'm sure he did. I'm sure he's really frustrated that he doesn't have one. Just like the people listening to this show are frustrated they couldn't find a way to win one. I don't know. I've only been out there. I've only been covering this. They've been to 3 since I've been here. I think maybe 4. 4. I think they've been to 4 since I've been covering the team. I don't recall any of those moments where I'm like, yeah, that decision by Mike Martin cost them the game.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes their players, somehow Stephen Wells, their best outfielder, has a ball go right through his legs, and then Cal Raleigh can't catch a ball when they have a kid in a rundown. Just pops out of his glove.
And then earlier in that, didn't Tyler Holton have a swinging strike 3, but the ball got away from Raleigh, and then he tried to throw the runner out at first, and then that throw went awry?
There's a couple things like that just always seem to happen to Florida State.
Yeah. So, well, we wish them the best of luck. And then
hey, they got 11 wins. That's all. There's some poetry in there, right? Just win your next 11 games, and you're hoisting that trophy. That's all it takes. Hey, baseball, they started the season on a 12-game winning streak, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now you don't have to go 12 this time. Just go 11 in a row.
Well, they hung 11 in their last ACC game.
Yeah, it's serendipitous.
Add them up. Maxwell Gibbs also wants to know what our takes are on the NBA Finals that starts on Thursday night. He says Warriors in 5. Durant won't play a single minute. Also, your thoughts on Drake acting like a clown while sitting courtside. Literally no celebrity that sits courtside does the antics that he did and gets away with it. Also, he said apparently I said on a show that Maxwell met his wife on Tinder while he was in college, but he said no. I don't remember saying that. They matched in New York City. They were both living in the East Village. Their apartments were exactly 6 blocks away from each other.
Oh, all right. Exactly 6 blocks.
Love.
That is love. True love in NYC. Love. Taking a bite out of the Big Apple.
I'll take 5. I'll take Warriors in 5. That sounds about right.
If Durant doesn't play, man, yeah, you're probably right.
The Drake stuff doesn't.
The Drake stuff is the Drake stuff. The thing that would bother me about the Drake stuff is that my man isn't there in March when they're playing the Grizzlies, but he'll make sure to be there when they're in the finals and and everybody's watching. That's only is he. I know he when it matters he pretends to be a real Raptors fan, but is he there day
one?
Day out? Yeah. So,
don't be a fan. Hashtag don't be a fan later.
Exactly right. Florida State fans know about that.
GSL 7532. Good morning, fellas. Will you guys be out tailgating for the Boise State game or do any link-ups? There's
probably something in the works maybe for the Friday night before the game against Boise State, which is a night game, right?
Correct. 7 p.m.
Sweet.
Prime time.
Sweet.
Broncos.
Get you some, Boise State. You ain't going to want to come back to Florida after this.
Also, with Landon Dickerson as good as gone, who do you think our starting offensive line will be?
You go. You answer that.
I think Bavion, and then flanked by Minshew and Arnold. Maybe Dante Lucas over one of those guys.
Maybe later in the year with Lucas, right?
I think everyone says knock Brady Scott back out to tackle as he played tackle last year.
But he didn't play it well.
Yeah.
I mean, but
maybe Randy Clemens figures out something.
Nobody did.
That's scary. And then maybe Ryan Roberts at the other tackle spot. I don't know. I mean, I still think Brady Scott might have a leg up over Chaz Neal. I know Chaz Neal, there's buzz generating around because he gained so much weight and he shows aggressiveness and he spoke well and confidently in the time that we spoke to him during the spring game. But I still think that maybe he's just a little too inconsistent at this point. But I mean, I'm going to have to pencil in the guy from NIU, that grad transfer, the Ryan Roberts kid's got to start at one of the tackle spots.
Well, it doesn't have to, but you would think he'd definitely have a shot. He's played before.
Oh, you want to go Chaz Neal, Juwan Williams at tackle? You want to go Brady Scott, Chaz Neal at tackle?
Well, I know. I mean, maybe Chaz Neal's awesome. It happens. People grow up. He got big. He got awesome. Maybe that happened. Yeah. So we don't know for sure because we haven't seen this guy play. But, yeah, again, we're not expecting them to be great.
Right. Maybe can Mike Arnold go outside to the tackle spot, maybe play right tackle, and then you can put Dante Lucas and Minshew on the inside with Baby on. I mean, I think up the middle they're going to be pretty strong. I mean, I like Dickerson, Arnold,
no, you don't.
and Dante.
You don't like Dickerson.
Oh, sorry. Minshew.
Yeah.
White guys, they all look the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think I like Minshew, Arnold, and Lucas. I think 2 out of those 3, gives you something good. And then Baby on, if the snaps look to have been a little bit behind him now, having the problems, at least the struggles for it last season, it looks to be by him. So I feel good about them up the middle. And then I don't know if the Ryan Roberts kid is just serviceable at one of the tackle positions. It's hard to imagine somebody going in and being as, struggling as much as a broken Juwan Williams. So it's maybe not the worst situation, but there's always going to be one spot on that 5. There's going to be a weak link at all points. There's going to be one weak link that's going to be significantly probably weaker than most of the other teams in the conference, or at least at the upper half of this conference.
And they were all frankly weak links last year.
How much of that can you really sort of conceal and try to scheme around? I don't know. Lastly, I think a lot of people are sleeping on how good our secondary is going to be next year. Do you guys think the defense will do better in the 3-4? That's another thing that can't be worse, right?
Yeah, again, there's a lot of things about this team that can't be worse. I do think that they do have players out there, man. I think I think the guys they're bringing in, they think can really play and will be on the field early.
Yeah, Akeem Dent is a day one contributor.
Yeah, I think Travis Jay is probably going to be on the field in some capacity. And then you got the 2 young corners that played a lot last year. You got Taylor back. Samuels is back.
Who are the 2 young corners from last year? Asante and who else?
Samuel and Leah, A.J. Litton.
Litton didn't play that much, though, I don't feel
He played some. I mean, and when he was in
there,
I like
Asante, but I think A.J.
I think those guys are all in the mix to play a lot.
Right.
So, and you hope that Fagan can take a step and be serviceable to good at safety. And then who knows, man? I do think they have Florida State always seems to have really good players in the secondary.
Right.
They weren't good last year, but a lot of that also had to do with the people up front in front of them.
Well, the pass rush is probably not going to be as robust. I mean,
no.
We'll
and it wasn't all that robust last year, aside from one guy. Yeah. But you lost him, so nobody looks good if they have a bunch of time to throw. And they couldn't play. They just, for whatever reason, they couldn't figure out a way to play a zone. They've got too many guys out there that can make plays. I think. Let them go try to make plays. And don't just be impressed man the whole time where they just throw it up top over you and the safety can't get there. Try to mix it up a little bit. They didn't mix it up a whole lot.
They couldn't. I mean, every week we spoke to Harlan Barnett, we're trying to make it easier for the kids. We're trying to make it more simple. And then, simplicity is the enemy sometimes of greatness, as we saw last year. But stay tuned to warchant.com. Gene Williams, the founder administrator, actually sat down with Super Bowl champion and former first-round pick Bryant McFadden to break down the secondary, kind of look at some of the guys they expect is going to rise to the top and get some of McFadden's thoughts on what went wrong with that team last year. But, yeah, it was just bizarre that you have that amount of raw talent and ability, but just can't figure out how to play zone. It was just kind of bizarre.
And nobody went out and really made a bunch of plays. Stanford Samuels is good. I think he's an NFL player.
I hope he finds a home, and they don't. You can't be moving all these guys around.
And he's got to figure out a play that he can make the best impact on the team and actually make an impact.
Yeah. Did you agree with the starting offensive line, or did you want to throw your
that seemed good. I mean, again, just be okay.
Georgia Knowles, 86. Wake up!
Did people stop leaving where they're from?
Yeah.
Or is that because
I forgot to put into the description as well? I should do that.
But we need to also reiterate from now because they listen to this show. Georgia Knowles, but see, I think Georgia Knowles is probably already ask us
he's
questions.
checked in. He's checked in.
We know where Max G is from, so I think they forget to, or not forget, but if they've done it once, they don't do it again. But for all the new listeners and all the new Renegade Express question askers,
yes,
if we haven't read one of your questions before and you don't tell us what hometown you're from and somebody famous from your hometown,
not reading it,
we might not read the question. You don't want to risk that.
What do you think of FSU only having one commitment inside the top 20 kids in Florida? So apparently the 20 top prospects in Florida State currently only has one commitment. What do you think about that? It's Demore Tate from Freedom High School in Orlando. The only other kids they are in on are Jalen Knighton and Michael Redding. Do you think FSU will have to be able to recruit the state of Florida and land the top prospects to have success on the field?
Yes.
Well, even more so because Willie seems to be doubling down on the Southeast. It's a Georgia, Florida sort of footprint that they're going after.
Yeah, no, that's not a great sign.
And it's really weird because he's doing a lot of play. He's going after a lot of kids from the Pinellas County area, and not to slander my environment, Pinellas County has never been a hotbed for football talent. I think baseball might be our strongest sport when it comes to Pinellas County. But, I mean, these schools like Largo High School, where Jayon McCluster goes to school at, Pinellas Park, and especially those schools, have never really done anything. I mean, as long as I've been alive, I remember doing anything of consequence, really, in state tournaments and state championships. Doesn't mean a kid can't be from that area and be good, but, again, it's kind of a bit of a different profile it seems like Willie's going after and sort of the geographical areas that he's circling and going heavy on. It's crazy to me to think that like Pinellas Park and Largo might have two of the bigger prospects that Florida State's going after. That's a bit crazy. They're still doing well in Miami. I don't even know if Miami really is. I feel like it's almost a down year in Miami because despite the fact that Miami is in the top 3 or 4 right now in the Rivals recruiting rankings, they don't have any 5-star guys. I mean, and a lot of their South Florida talent guys, they're 3 and 4-star players too. So. I don't really know where the prime talent is in the state right now, but
you look at where Florida State's ranked in the recruiting rankings right now, and it's like whatever it is, 5 or 6 or 7. They're high up there, but it's not because they've got a bunch of elite star talent. It's because they got a lot of commitments that are pretty good commitments. And the way these things are ranked,
they're currently 8th.
Yeah,
right
so they're 8th, but they don't have their average star ranking isn't great. Especially for a place like Florida State. And, yeah, you look at all the 5 stars and all the best players in Florida, and they're not even really seemingly in the running for a ton of them.
Yeah.
Again, it's only May.
They have to win. I mean, that just shows just how important
if they go –
there's a lot of wait and see from these kids.
Which you can totally understand, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you think about if you were recruiting against Florida State right now, against Florida State.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
I mean, it would be really easy. Like, look, here are their pro football grades for their offensive line. This is their record. First time they haven't been to a bowl in 40 years. Look at who they recruited last year. Not a ton of great elite talent. Look at what's going to the NFL.
All right, don't give them too many ideas.
No, but I'm saying this is look at the NFL.
Right.
They've dried up. Why would you want to go there? Plus, if he has another bad year, you don't even know who your head coach is going to be. All that is tough to recruit against sometimes. A lot of people overcome it. Zook overcame it somehow. So you can't overcome it. A lot of different avenues to go down to try to overcome that. But the biggest thing is you got to show them that you're winning. You got to show them that you turned it around. If you go 4-0 in September or you go 5-1 in your first 6 games, it will start feeding itself a little bit. You got to. Winning is the most – everything when it comes to attendance, TV ratings, recruiting – donations, it's all winning. It's all winning. That's the biggest factor in all of it.
Looking at the Rivals breakdown, there's currently only 2 5-star prospects in the state of Florida. Both of them are committed to Clemson. One's from Lakeland, Florida, is a running back to Marcus Bowman, and a cornerback Fred Davis from Trinity Christian in Jacksonville. The number 3 prospect, Avante Williams, is a safety from DeLand. He's committed to Oregon.
Oregon?
Yeah.
Good grief. Does he know Willie's not there anymore?
All right. Well, there's a funny anecdote apparently in Florida coaching circles that all the kids like Oregon until it's time to sign with Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, even Willie kind of –
Well, they had a good class last year, though, didn't they?
Oregon
did? I thought they did.
Maybe. But, yeah, I mean, Florida State's got 2 guys. I mean, Jalen Harrell is the 18th prospect in the state. Malachi Weideman is the 19th prospect in the state. Both those guys are committed to FSU. So, they do have 2 guys that are in the top 20 Florida. I've never been a big guy, though, in terms of, man, you get the talent where the talent's at. I haven't been one of these guys that's like, we need to make sure that we own Miami-Dade County. If we don't own Miami-Dade County, we're not. It's not a bad idea, obviously, because that's where a lot of good guys are. But find the talent. Go find Ronald Darby. And then go down the street to Ocala. Go wherever and find kids. Go to Alabama and try to pull a kid out there. Actually, don't do that. It never works.
Except for the quarterback.
Except for the one. Yeah, except for that sweet prince. Dunla 402. It's D-U-N-L-A. How would you pronounce that? D-U-N-L-A. Should I say Dunla 402?
Dunla?
Dunla?
Yeah, Dunla.
Dunla 402. I think maybe it was like Dunlap and he left off the P for it, or maybe is the 4 supposed to be like a P?
Dunla.
With the recent revenue gap talk, do you think FSU as an athletic program can survive all of this going forward? For example, where do you see FSU in 2050? Are we still considered a top 10 football and baseball program, or do you see us struggling to keep up and being passed by other SEC and Big Ten teams? My ultimate fear is that we turn into a has-been program like BYU.
Hey, why you got to rip on the Mormons like that?
Man, come on, man. Be nice to the Cougs. They got hosed out of the NCAA baseball tournament.
I would say 2050, man. I think the whole college landscape is going to look a whole lot different. I think I am of the opinion that the bubble is going to burst. I think we're in the 2005, 2006 housing market where it's getting on the
like I only have $5,000 to put down on this $375,000 house, but I'm good.
Yeah, sure. And then we're gonna. It's called an adjustable rate mortgage.
Okay.
So after 4 or 5 years, we're gonna triple your mortgage. But by that, you'll have a better job and you'll be able to pay the mortgage and you'll be able to hit down on that principal. Yeah, I think what's gonna happen is as cable gets less. I know people are still watching games. But nobody's going to football games anymore. Every school struggles with attendance. Every school, except maybe Alabama and Clemson. They all struggle with attendance. And these salaries are rising at a level that is not proportionate with the attendance numbers. You see all these schools that realize they have to schedule better home and homes. The TV ratings are going to start going down significantly because people aren't watching it as much on regular cable. So Comcast isn't going to control the world anymore, I think, because I think a lot of people are just going to watch on their computers. They're going to go straight through ESPN or they're going to go straight through this app or that app. In the way that they've done business for the last 15, 20 years, I think will be obsolete in 10. And at that time, that's when it crashes, right? How could you – I just can't imagine that Iowa and Minnesota and everybody in the Big Ten is still going to be making $51 million in revenue from the Big Ten network in 2050. I just don't – I think they were the first ones to do it. They got a good deal. But all these companies are going to be like, man, we're not getting our bang for our buck at some point. They're just going to be like that. And so I don't know. I think what could save the ACC – and I know it's outlandish, and I know everybody that knows things has a IQ will roll their eyes, but get Notre Dame to join the dang conference, or get Notre Dame to split their revenue from NBC, because they're playing 3 of their home games each year that are on NBC are from the ACC. The ACC is giving them 3 home games, so maybe you get a cut of that. Maybe Notre Dame can say, you know what, for the betterment of the conference that we play every other sport in, we've got to start filling the coffers with our football money to make it to make this whole conference better.
What gets
maybe
trimmed?
I know that's
I know
that's
not
going to happen. But I mean, if you threw Notre Dame football into the ACC with the money they bring in from NBC, right. Well, now you're on a competitive balance. If everybody was getting a piece of that, and of course Notre Dame would be like, hey man, why would you get a piece of this? This is all us. This is what we built in the 50s and 60s, while nobody even knew that Arkansas had a football team. So why would we share our profit with you? And it's like, okay, well then your women's basketball team can go play somewhere else. What conference are they going to play in? Now, again, they'd all jump at the chance to get Notre Dame. I get it. But you just wish Notre Dame was a little more giving.
A little more skin in the game, guys.
Yeah, get a little more skin in the game. But I do think that by 2050 it's going to be a completely different landscape. I think there's a chance football will break away and be its own entity, and it won't even be considered an NCAA sport.
Right, like they'll be an autonomous sort of group of schools or whatever.
I mean, you just – and everybody – the Power 5 shares the money equally. Something like that. I think – and again, this is 30 years from now. Yeah. But you can't – what's going on now, it's not sustainable, I don't think.
Well, 30 years ago, We still had
30 years
bowl
ago.
games and teams with one loss.
Was that 89?
Yeah.
So 1989, Florida State was number 2 in the country. Couldn't play the number 1 team in the country because of a bowl tie-in. Yeah. Think of how backwards that was. Bobby Bowden in 1989 had just won his 10 wins for a third straight year, almost won another national championship. He might have been making $800,000. Maybe.
Really?
Maybe.
That sounds like a really liberal estimate. I wouldn't think he'd be anywhere near 800.
I know. I feel he was the first one to get $1 million, but I don't know what. I think that was in the early 90s. But anyway, maybe 600,000 or 500,000. He wasn't making a ton of money, and he wasn't rich. Now, obviously, these coaches are all rich. It's like Congress, man. Every congressman.
God bless the internet, man.
What do we got?
Don't do this to me.
Oh, you had me excited.
It's LA Times. They put some sort of crazy estimated $600,000 a year, January 5th, 1990.
Was Bowden's contract.
Yes.
And he had, man. I mean, you would argue Miami, Notre Dame at that time, maybe a couple other ones were on equal footing as Florida State, but that was one of the preeminent positions in college football. The head coach at Florida State in 1990, he was making $600,000 a year. Now Willie Taggart is making $5 million 30 years later. So it's hard to even project what it'll be like in 2050. But I just don't think this is sustainable. You can't. What's next? Is Saban going to get $25 million? Is he going to get $50 million?
January 5th, 1990 is the headline byline. Bowden's present package, a 5-year rollover contract with a $111,427 base salary, totaled about $300,000 annually. So his base salary was like $111,000.
Yeah. What happened, presidents?
Yeah,
ADs.
Idiots.
What happened?
Idiots.
I mean, good grief.
I was going to ask you, so what does, when this landscape does sort of change, I mean, I guess stadiums get smaller, but they can't charge more for the ticket.
Right. That's another thing. You can't raise the ticket prices.
I mean, these football mansions that are going to have been built 20, 30 years prior, they're still going to be doing upkeep on them. And I mean, you're not going to wreck it. And I don't know, maybe the bubble at some point, is there an offset? Do we think that the arms race maybe kind of ends and you don't have to worry about doing $100 million?
You would think, but then what is Iowa doing with the $50 million? I know we joked about that on the last week, but what are they doing with that? You've got to invest it in something. There's diminishing returns for sure. There's nothing. I don't know what they do with the extra $20 million, but you got to do something with it. Alabama is going to keep making a lot of money. They can't keep paying Nick Saban. I mean, they can, I guess, just keep doubling his salary or buying more former coaches to be quality control assistants. But I feel like you're just going to keep building onto your football mansion, make it bigger and bigger, just because you can. What are you going to do with that money?
But the money dries up.
Oh, no, I think until the money dries up.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then when the money dries up or the bubble bursts, and it will burst, I don't think it'll be like the 2007 housing market, but it will burst, and there will be some correction. There will be some market correction at some point here, I think, in the next decade. There just has to be. No, less people are going to games, less people are watching it on cable, but the salaries and the prices keep going up and up and up. At some point, that can't coexist.
Do we think like scholarship numbers would go down? Because we hear about, we talked about when we talked to Jerry Coots earlier.
Or do you cut sports? Do you cut other sports? That's why I'm worried about, that's why I said maybe it'll be its own entity that funds itself. Because it'll get to a point where Florida State, to compete, if it keeps going at this rate, where they're lagging $16 million behind the SEC and $20 million behind the Big Ten, that you have to be like, okay, well, how much money are we spending on women's basketball? And I'm not saying they would ever cut women's basketball, but how much money
they can.
a year?
Title IX,
yeah. But I mean, at some point, you might take that to court. I mean, who knows? If you're that far behind, you'd be like, we can't afford to support all these programs. We can't. That's an extra $4 million that we can put into our football.
I think that's such a drop in the bucket, though, sadly, like $4 million. I think maybe they get to a point where scholarships get reduced and you're only talking about something closer to what the NFL has, like maybe 50, 60 something. And because, I mean, we hear about Jared Coots talks about the scholarship endowment is such a huge investment. Maybe you have less of that to worry about.
That's a bummer because then that's less kids that get to go to college.
Well, they don't get to go to Florida State. They got to go to
but if you're cutting it across the board.
Well, they go to Division II.
Well, then they're definitely not getting a scholarship. So if they can't afford it, they can't afford it. Like, at least now you're giving some kids these chances to get an education.
How many kids have been through Florida State that probably didn't deserve to be on an athletic scholarship? So maybe
well, sure, you're just cutting out the deadwood. I got you.
They got to do it, man. Something got to make sacrifices.
But anyway, that's a really hard question. I didn't answer it well. I do think
I think you did. I like it.
I
this
probably
is a good
won't
show
be alive.
Right now. Don't screw it up.
Probably won't be alive.
Oh, don't say that.
I'd be in my 70s.
Yeah, come
Hopefully,
on, chill out,
I'm
man.
living.
Noel fan from South Florida. What's up, guys? I hope what Dante Lucas was rumored to have said to Landon Dickerson in an offensive line meeting was 100% true. Every single word. Love the show. See, Aslan corrected myself this time. As always, and go Knowles. P.S. Game of Thrones is overrated. Final episode was trash.
You shut your mouth. Well, you're right about the last.
Yeah. Did you read what Dante Lucas?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm like 99% sure it's totally urban legend, urban myth.
But the thing about Lucas is you can see that you can see that coming out of his mouth.
I think because he's a guy that knows that his future is playing football, going to the NFL, supporting his family, lifting his family up. And not to say that Dickerson's coming from some sort of struggle, but really, like, hey, man, you think you're going to go somewhere else? Like, man, yeah, go ahead, man, make your money, go where you got to go to have the best shot.
He strikes me as a guy that's a Nolan through and through.
No-blooded.
He's no-blooded.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be afraid to speak his mind. I think he's a guy that will be a leader on this team very soon. And yeah, man, you can ride or die with a guy like Dante Lucas. Is all I'm saying.
I like him. I like Dante Lucas, but I see what you're saying. It just kind of you're either with us or you're against us. Beat it. But I still think that maybe as a true freshman, that's probably a little bit of a stretch to think that he apparently. I mean, I hate to almost even say you don't want to give these things actually, but apparently Dante Lucas told Landon Dickerson good luck, get out of here, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
suppose.
Yeah, that'll happen with true freshmen though. William Floyd was a true freshman like that would not mind at all speaking his mind if he had to.
I'm trying to find the actual thread. I haven't been able to find it. By the way, Chipola, they went 0-2 out in the Junior College World Series,
so he probably won't. Maybe you think that hurts his chances of being the next head coach at Florida State?
Maybe a little bit. Where is it? I figured it'd be like one of these huge 10-page threads. I wouldn't be able to miss it. Maybe it got deleted.
By the way, so that'll be a topic for the next 3 weeks after Florida State loses. Probably this weekend, but maybe not. I'm not rooting for it. I hope they go up there and stun the Dogs. The baseball coach, baseball search. That's going to be coming up. That's going to be fast and furious over the next 2 or 3 weeks. You can't wait too long because you got to recruit. Players got to know who you're bringing on.
People are saying that Tennessee's coach is a candidate.
Oh, really?
Vitello, I think maybe his name.
They got to the tournament this year, right? They
said first time in a long time.
Since 2005? That's what they said on that selection show.
I think so. Yeah,
That's
it's been a long
incredible.
Time. Yeah, 14. I think it's been 14 years.
Tennessee, I mean, that you would think you would sneak into a tournament. How are you that bad at baseball?
The thread, the post was, there are Twitter rumors that when Landon Dickerson walked into an offensive line meeting in February, after being in the portal, Lucas told him to get the blank out of there. Who knows if that's true, but Lucas then tweeted that although he's a freshman, he's been a veteran. Fun message board material nonetheless.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, man. And Lucas ain't afraid of no one.
No, man. You shouldn't. I mean,
he's enormous and really strong.
He's a monster. Yeah, so that's that. Oh, by the way, also they're saying...
And even if he didn't say it, I hope he said it.
Yeah. Landon Dickerson, apparently his landing spots, most likely they're saying, right? Or not most likely, but apparently Alabama, he's going to be visiting, and A&M. So, yeah, there you go.
Hey, good luck, buddy. Good luck.
He's not good.
Captain D. Don't say that.
I'm being facetious. I mean, there's the people that are like,
no, he's just
on him.
He's healthy. No, his health has always been an issue. He's always been pretty good.
He's like the Chris Chandler of...
Hey, man, anybody can transfer to Alabama. Impress me and start at Alabama. Know what I'm saying, Landon?
No, please don't. Because
he'll
probably be healthy.
He wins the Outland.
They'll give him deer antler, and he'll be healthy somehow.
Somehow he won't ever get hurt.
I'll put HGH in his protein shake. Last one of the day. Here we go. Corey, you ready?
Let's do it.
Captain D_63. Wake up, gents. I listened to a podcast yesterday. He names the podcast. We're not going to plug them. They seem to indicate that our offensive line without the presence of Landon Dickerson was going to be crap with what we have. Do you agree? And if not, what are some positives we can look forward to? And if you agree, then how in the world do we win 7 or 8 games with this lack of talent? Well, that part, the schedule, right? Schedule is much more
and you can improve.
Manageable.
Like I'm on.
Our shows have gotten better over the year. We get better.
These guys are supposed to get better as you get older. That's how it works. And instead of being, an F student like they were last year, maybe they're a C-. that still might qualify as quote-unquote crap, but it's less smelly, right?
Yeah.
Less smushy. Doesn't get on your shoes. You know what I mean? You can just walk around it. And it's a different relationship with the crap. So that's what I think we're looking at here. Nobody thinks that they're going to take this enormous step up and be a good offensive line. If they were a good offensive line, I think we would all expect 9 or 10 wins. Maybe 10 wins. If they were a good offense, I'm talking about like one of the best in the conference.
Okay.
I think you're like, okay, if you can control the line of scrimmage with those running backs, you have in the skill position, you have a chance to be really good.
I was thinking about it. Like, who do we really count on besides Tamarian out there, though? I mean, you hope Keyshawn Helton, but like
DJ's my guy this year. I think DJ took a step. He looked good. Looked good all spring.
I think that we maybe need to kind of also look back on like what Baylor's always had those smaller receivers that really thrived.
Yeah.
Katie Cannon and Corey Coleman and guys like that.
So yeah, I don't expect the offensive line to not be crap, but it could be a different kind. It could be just
solid formed poop, not like runny.
Not everywhere on the sidewalk, just one. But yeah, I do think that they'll be better. And if you're better, along with a weaker schedule, that's why we think they should win a few more games. Again, nobody's expecting a Rose Bowl trip. Nobody's expecting them to beat Clemson. You're looking at hopefully 8 or 9 wins. And a large part of that is the offensive line. It has been a disaster for years now. Hopefully a guy like Dante Lucas and Chaz Neal, if he's the real deal. There you go, the real deal Chaz Neal. We just did that.
Ding, ding.
You're improving. You're not Georgia yet. The reason Georgia has done really well the last 2 years, one of them is their offensive line has been really darn good. That is a huge thing. And you got to hope that when Florida State was awesome, I know they had a great quarterback and some really fun receivers, but that offensive line was an NFL offensive line with Stork and Irving and Trey Jackson and Matias and Bobby Hart. You had guys that played in the NFL on that offensive line. Were high picks on that offensive line. That's the key, man. You got to get better there. So go from an F, which they clearly were last year. I think they were probably an F the year before, maybe a D-. Get to a C-. That's still not good. Nobody's happy. Nobody's doing cartwheels about a C-. But it shows improvement, and it should pay off with a couple more wins. Crap or not.
It's just crazy how exponentially better I'd feel about this team if they did have Dickerson. Despite his health record, track record, all that sort of stuff, I just feel like when you talk about you got Dickerson, maybe this JUCO guy will be good. And then, again, like Bavion, Minshew, Dante Lucas, Brady Scott, like those guys – that's what you have to get to figure out your interior. Like those are good pieces, I feel like. But then you lose Dickerson, and then I really think it's kind of like a linchpin. Even though, again, I know he's fragile and everything, but whatever.
Yeah, no, it's not great. He was probably your most veteran.
He's
him and
most
Minshew,
talented.
right?
He's your most talented offensive.
And again, we wouldn't expect him to complete a whole season necessarily, but yeah, that's a loss. It's a big loss.
Second question: if the baseball team goes 0-2 in the regionals, will you be disappointed, or would that be about on par for the season? I'll be disappointed. You got to win at least one game out there, man. Don't let the old man go home that quickly. Get one win.
Yeah.
You'll play Mercer if you lose at FAU in a loser. Like, you don't lose to the 4 seed and go home.
Yeah, especially a team you swept earlier in the year. Beat Mercer.
0-2 will be a little bit of an indignity on them. Yeah, even though that happened to them last year. I just feel like 2 years in a row.
Yeah, you wouldn't want him to go out losing 4 straight regional games, which is what that would be. But, yeah, I think I don't expect them to go 0-2. I also don't expect them to win it. Somewhere there in the middle lies where the 2019 Florida State baseball team will finish most likely. But you know what? You just said it. Stranger things have happened. They could go out there and win the whole effing thing.
Prematurely, there's actually 2 questions. He's got a third one, then we got to go back to Enol's question.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Thirdly, I read on the message board someone mentioned the Tennessee coach as a possible candidate. What are your thoughts on him? Here's your bio blast. Tony Vitello was born in St. Louis, Missouri on October 9th, 1978. He's 40 years old. Check. I like that. Okay. He played at the University of Missouri. He had stints at Missouri as an assistant for 7 years, 3 years at TCU, and then 3 or 4 years at Arkansas under Dave Van Horn. That's pretty good pedigree.
Assistant. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's been at Tennessee for 2 years now.
So he's been to some College World Series for sure.
Yes. Tennessee, he had them at 29 and 27 last year.
Tennessee was his first job as a
head coach. First head coaching job. And his second year, he took them from 29 and 27 first year to the NCAA national tournament. Makes $460,000. That's not a
Yeah, and he got them there to the tournament for the first time in
14 years, I think
14
it is.
years. Again, you're not blown away by something like that, but it's not a bad resume for sure.
You can't. You'd have to hire Meat. I don't think.
I don't think that outweighs
yeah,
Meat.
Yeah,
and I'm not just saying because of the name. I'm talking about a guy that's been in the program for over 20 years. The resume as an assistant, it's got to be, in my opinion, if you're going to knock Meat off the perch. There you go. That's a funny sentence. It's got to be, I know it's not even viable. It's not even ever going to happen, but it's got to be like the guy at Vanderbilt. It's got to be somebody like that, and that's not happening.
So.
Or the guy at Arkansas, but you can't pay that.
I think Doug Minkiewicz is enough to knock him off that.
I just can't imagine. You take a guy with no college coaching experience. None.
You got to change this up.
Meat's got to change it up. Did you not read the story, the Q&A I did? He's got a lot of different ideas that are different than his old man's.
It's not a shake-up. That's a tweak. But then he could say, hey, listen, this program has done what they've done for the last.
You just went to the tournament 42 straight years. You don't have to tweak it that much.
Yeah. Well, no, you need to tweak. You don't need to
do an overhaul. Yeah, you don't have to do an overhaul when we're always in the tournament.
It's just the crazy man in me, the gambler in me wants to see them just kind of take a shot on something crazy, like crazy calculated risk, like I'm in Minkiewicz, and just see where it goes.
So say Meat gets the job and is the head coach for, I think he's like 42, 40. He's like my age, maybe 44.
Really? He's older than that.
Maybe 44. I think we were in college about the same time. So say he has the job for 22 years. There's no way the Mike Martins would go 62 straight years without winning a national title. That's what I'm saying. Folks, the odds are the baseball gods are going to take care of the Martin family. Even if you just believe in that. Believe like, you know what, we really let down the dad. The son's taking over now? Well, we owe them a few. So they might just be reigning national championships just from the baseball gods that feel bad for what happened to Mike Martin over the last 40 years.
Would he be here for 20 years or how many years you said if he hadn't won a College World Series?
If they keep going to the tournament and make it, make the, their top 10, top 15 for that most of that time. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to fire a guy that's top 10, top 12.
That'd be great.
But, I mean, just Mike Martins for a whole life.
Great. Entering his 22nd season as an assistant coach, Mike Martin Jr., 22 years. But, I mean, I guess he went straight from college.
Well, no, he played pro ball for a little bit. And then, I didn't know this. He was going to be it was part of the interview I did. He wanted to be an FBI agent or a Secret Service agent.
I am an FBI agent.
Utah, give me two. He was going to be a Secret Service agent, and he went and interviewed and everything. And then they told him, I think they told him he'd have to work the drug detail in Miami for a few years. And he's like, maybe I'll just go be a baseball coach. But
hit some grounders.
But I think that's the thing about Meat is he's been such a part of the program as a player that you forget, man, 22 years as an assistant is a long time.
How can you pass? How can you call him into an office?
That's Mickey Andrews-esque. And legitimately, folks, I'm telling you, he is the guy that has been recruiting this entire time. They have, I hate to say it, a little bit had their hands tied behind, at least one hand tied behind their back the last decade or so in the way they've had to recruit. But he's the one that's always on the road doing it. And he really has put in a ton of work into this program to try to keep it relevant and viable, and it has. And then you're going to say, well, you've not been a head coach, so you can't be a head coach here. It's like, well, he kind of helped keep the program afloat for his dad for the last decade. And again, it's not life isn't fair, and I'm not saying the only fair thing to do is give Mike Martin a job. I'm just saying that it has to be somebody better than a guy that's been a head coach for 2 years, in my opinion.
No, that's fair.
And it can't be another assistant coach, in my opinion.
Oh, heck no.
If you're going to go the assistant coach route, it
absolutely.
would be incredible to go to somebody else that wasn't Mike Martin Jr.
Unless you're going to just get them for just absolute pennies. On the
it was
dollar.
literally like $40,000. Yeah.
Get some varsity basketball coach to come be the head coach. Yeah. All right. Let's. By the way,
player coach
Captain D63 says that he enjoys the insights on the show. Aslan and Corey, have a great day. if you want to.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that.
All right, and here we go. Enol_2000.
All right, hey, by the way, give people. So this is all Game of Thrones.
Yes, this is Game of Thrones.
So if you're done with Florida State, if you don't like if you're just happy with the Florida State stuff, you don't care about Game of Thrones.
Well, it's a spoiler. We're not going to really. I don't think we're going to delve into it because we're at about an hour almost.
So tune out if you're not caught up on Game of Thrones or if you care nothing at all about Game of Thrones.
And do be
the
back.
show is done.
And do come back next week for fun announcements. Enol says, I just binged the bat snot out of Game of Thrones. 8 seasons in about 4 weeks. My man.
That's like you, right? You're on a run
man,
like
it's crazy. It'll do something to you. That being said, what was the bigger bust? The 2015 recruiting class who came in with 5 5-star recruits, or Daenerys Targaryen who launched her campaign with 2 massive armies, 3 dragons, yet still failed to sit on the Iron Throne?
Yeah, it was losing dragons left and right. Yeah. She sat on the Iron Throne for 45 minutes, right? All she had to do is not burn people. Just not go crazy and burn the whole city. And I think she'd still be there. Did you see Nick Saban's quote, by the way?
No.
Apparently he watches Game of Thrones.
Why not? It's the
and
best
he
show
said
ever.
He was disappointed in that Bran ended up getting on the throne. He goes I'm disappointed because I didn't expect it, because not once during the show did he show any leadership skills. Or was he in a leadership role?
Nick Saban's
he's like
always
he was
on.
never in a leadership role, and now he's the head. He's sitting on the Iron Throne. And it's like, you know what? As much as I make fun of that dude, that's perfect. That's exactly right. He was never somebody looked at and said, yeah, he'll lead people. People will follow him.
Well, he led those 2 kids through the forest with Hodor.
He led Hodor to his death.
Well, it was Hodor's fate. That's what his whole destiny was set on, keeping Bran alive so that he could get the knowledge transferred over from the 3-eyed raven so that he could rule Westeros.
Yeah.
Well, this is the thing. I almost want to ask Enol for next week, although it's really slim pickings to be talking about Thrones now 2 weeks removed from it. I never expected her to take over. I mean, maybe until the last season. I always thought that was such a tangential part of the story.
I thought it was her story until I guess I thought it was her until the end of last season.
Oh, okay. See,
I thought, okay, we're rooting for her to do this. We're rooting for her to make this happen. And then at the end of last season, I'm like, yeah, no, I don't think it's going to work out for her. Yeah. I just didn't think so. I think that I figured they'd use her for the war with the zombies, but then she was useless. She didn't do anything in the War of the Zombies.
Yeah,
it was Arya. The Starks had to save the day because her dragons did nothing.
It's poetic. They had to take care of their house.
Nonsense.
Winterfell. I just don't. I never bought into her whole sort of angle, man. I didn't care. I was never rooting for her, man. I was always rooting about.
But yeah, I said it. I think I said it on this show. I do so many shows, Aslan. It's hard to keep up with what I say on what, but. Game of Thrones was an incredible show.
Was she kind of like Trickett? Was she Jimbo and then she didn't Trickett, kind of let her down? Like Tyrion kept letting her down, giving her bad.
She didn't have great people around her. And what's his name tried to
Varys.
Go around. Varys tried to.
Who was the Varys of Florida State? Who tried to tell Jimbo, man, I know I made an analogy previously. We don't want to go down that path again. Jorah, was.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, was it Randy Sanders? Hey, man, just listen to me. Jimbo, just listen to me, man. Let me help you out with some stuff, Jimbo.
I don't think there was anybody that was stabbing Jimbo in the back, though, or that wanted him not to be the head coach necessarily.
Of course not, because he's good.
So I don't think that really applies. No, he's not. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. He's not even the GOAT at Florida State. He's not even close. Not even close.
He's had one less ring. If you'd given him 20 more years, I think he would have gotten turned around at one point.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have had 14 straight top 5 finishes, though. Right?
He's Corey. I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening. Catch up with y'all next week.
WarChant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. WarChant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WarChant30. That's WarChant30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WarChant30. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.